Today on Riffs, Beards, and Gear, we check out the all-new Kraken Hybrid MIDI bass plugin from Solemn Tones. Solemn Tones has been leading the way in MIDI instruments for a few years now, and they were actually the first MIDI guitar plugin that I actually thought sounded really nice. And they also have had a couple of MIDI bass plugins, as well as some audio processing plugins and drum plugins. Well, they have returned with the Kraken Hybrid MIDI bass plugin, and this samples a Music Man bongo bass, which is one of my favorite sounding basses of all time. Now, Solemn Tones has completely overhauled and redone their sampling process, and the Kraken goes all the way down to double drop C, which is nuts, really. Now, when you load up the Kraken Hybrid, you get 5 process tones and then 1 DI tone if you just want to use it as a straight bass DI. If you have your own setup that you would rather run into it, or signal chain, for example, I really like using Dark Glass Parallax, for example. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to use some of the built-in tones, you can do that too, because they are damn good. Now, before we dive in to the Kraken Hybrid MIDI bass plugin, let's see how it sounds in the context of a mix. I will be using my Music Man Axis Super Sport baritone guitar, and I will mix this as I normally would and be listening for the bass frequencies. After we're done, we're going to come back and we're going to dive in to the Kraken. Let's do a full mix. All right, now that we have heard the mix, I have Logic Pro X up. Here is the Kraken Hybrid. I'm going to solo the bass, and here is how I have it set up currently. Now that is the tone that I just found worked best for my mix, but I'm gonna go ahead and cycle through some of these other ones. Let's start with Thick Hard Rock, pun intended. Very dirty, that one. Very dirty, like the name. Kraken Glass. I particularly really like this one. Gnarly 666. That one works particularly well in a mix. Planet Saturn. That's pretty good. And then we have the clean DI. Okay, so let's talk about some of these controls. First, we have Swift. Swift is going to be a set and forget kind of button. It's going to even out the notes, but in the context of a mix, is going to give you really solid low end and consistent low end, as opposed to maybe inconsistent low end that you would get with a more humanized part being played. Now, it is supposed to sound all robotic like that because the point of Swift is to get that nice, even low end. Next, we have the info button. This has all the information you need when you're programming the MIDI for key switches, velocities on alternate picking, etc., etc. We have, now I want to point out, there is also slapping on the Kraken Hybrid, which I don't think I've ever seen before on a MIDI bass. Like an actual good slap. We're gonna try and play some slap in a little bit. I'm not gonna be good at it, but we are gonna play with the slap feature here in just a little bit. But this is all the key switches and all the info that you need to know while programming your bass MIDI. Next, under playing, this is where I'm gonna get into the nitty gritty stuff. I can force slap, I can just do straight slap and not worry about any of the key switches. This is more for experimentation purposes, I feel like. So, blend intensity, decay intensity, tuning, string noise, left-handed noise, and mute noise. These are all human error controls that you can switch on and off. And these are things, you know, the imperfections that make human playing sound awesome sometimes, depending on the context. So, Solemn Tones has made this switchable, which I do enjoy. Let's back out of this and let's go to the tone. I'm going to go back to my Kraken Forge. And first you will notice some basic EQ controls. We have the low, mid, high, and air, and overall output. So next we have this enforce button. And what this is it's adding a kind of a synthy overtone or subharmonic. A lot of times with a regular tracked DI, it is not uncommon to add some kind of a sub bass, a MIDI plugin underneath the fundamental so you can get the note to cut without cutting out and over processing the bass DI. Now I'm gonna crank up the enforce volume super, super loud just so you can hear what it's doing. I wouldn't normally use this sort of thing this loud, but this is just so you guys can hear this. Do you hear what I'm talking about? It's like a video gamey kind of sound. It's almost like a bit crusher or something. It's gonna add a lot of thickness and it's going to add a lot of consistency in the context of a mix when you're using the enforce. I wouldn't normally use this loud at all. I would have this way down if I was using something like this. Again, just wanted you guys to hear what it's doing. And that does it for the Kraken Hybrid. Shout out to Solemn Tones for making this video possible, and I will link down below in the description if you guys would like to get your own copy of the Kraken Hybrid MIDI bass plugin. Use the code FLUFF for 15% off. Very, very nice of Solemn Tones. And with that, you've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed the video that you just watched, please consider subscribing. It helps me help you, and then in turn you get more stuff to watch. And also I have all sorts of stuff down in the description of this video. Sweetwater giveaway stuff, there's all sorts of links to all sorts of things, so consider checking that out as well if you're gonna hang. But if you don't hang, all good. I still love you.